Welcome back. This is video 7, 400EX rebuild repair. I got the remaining engine parts that I'm waiting on, so I am going to start assembly. And hopefully by the end of this video we'll have a first run. So let's get to it and finish this thing up. Alright, I got my head gasket in. Let's do some assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the head today and the camshaft, and I'm going to install the valve cover as well. So let's get to it. Alright, let's see if I can do this without hitting the camera. Alright, so we'll feed the head gasket in. Run hole. Tie this back up top. Now I'll put the washers in. These are the washers. Alright, the big washer goes over here outside. We want to make sure that we don't drop anything down inside the motor. It's open. This is the new engine washer I had to buy because it was missing one. That's it. So we're going to torque these in. These are 14 mil. And we're going to do it in the crisscross pattern. But first I'm going to torque them to 15 pounds and then 35. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of oil down inside the deep compression pinhole, and I'm going to install the spring and the pin right now. I'll show you guys. This is what I'm going to install. This is for the decompression. And again, very careful not to drop this down inside the motor. Spring is in there, and I'm going to install the pin. And she's right in there, nice. Alright. Next, I am going to lube up the journals really, really well. With some 10W40. Oh, this is going to get lubed up really well. Alright, I'm going to lay the cam in, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil inside this bearing first. You guys can see that. Some oil inside that bearing so it doesn't dry. Just lay this in here for 1 second while I do that. bearing. Now this bearing is open on one side and closed on the other, and the open side goes towards the engine. Alright, now drop this right in there. Make sure it spins through. So first I'm going to time machine. Gear. Grab that. Back this way. Take this off now. And it says out on it, so you can only put it on one way. And I'm just gonna lightly put this in there for now. So that I can set the cam in place. Decompression's in place. Cam is in place. You want the lobes down. I already have the engine at top dead center. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place in the bearing retainer pins, which are these. Slide them in on this side. Alright, she's seated now. Seated on that side. We're in. Alright, now we're at top dead center, and let me, if I can show you guys real quick. So, top dead center for the cam should be lined up with those two holes, which it is. And then this should be straight, and that should be straight, and this should be straight up. And if you want to see where you're at, you can push on this. And you can see there's absolutely, I mean, there's very little play in that timing chain now. That is awesome. And I hit the teeth perfectly on that gear. It's already all lined up. So, I got the wrench. So I'm going to put this first screw in. And I'm not going to make it super tight. I'm just going to snug it. And I have to rotate the engine around to get it set. Alright, so what I do want to do is put, I think I want to go with red Loctite on this. red Loctite on these. I don't want these coming out. You're going to be spinning pretty fast, so let's put the red stuff on here rather than the blue. And I'll spin the engine around and put it on there. Now I'm going to oil the bejesus out of everything here. Oil up the chain, oil up the camshaft, the bearings, tops of the valves. Now I'm going to install the rockers. Alright, we're going to put the gasket on now. Now the rockers. Alright, all the rockers are loose, in good shape. So I'm going to, actually, before I bolt the rocker cover down, I'm going to install the chain tensioner. Because I want to be able to look down inside there before I bolt that in. I ended up buying two new bolts for it because previous owner, I think, rounded over the top of the bolts, and they were kind of hard for me to get out because of that, so I don't want to reuse them. And I mean, for, I don't know, what they charge me $3 a piece of these things. I know it's kind of a rip-off, but I mean, you kind of don't have a choice when you're buying factory parts. But anyway, I'm going to install that now. Got a new gasket that I'm putting on. Down. Now, for you guys that don't know, on these adjusters, you have to turn this screw in there, and it brings the adjuster in. The only problem with that is that as soon as you pull it out, it goes back out. So you got to kind of hold it there until you're done torquing it, which can be kind of a pain. There is a special tool for it. I don't have it. So actually, the easiest way to do it is just put it in there and then turn it, and then you can hold the screwdriver with a little bit of pressure. So it's all the way in now. Put the screws in. Of course, this is going to end up being a pain, because why should it go easy, right? Let's try that again. This is one of those times where you ever wish you had 3 hands. This would be that time. So I'm going to start these. I don't have to worry about them flying out. And I'll crank this down the rest of the way. Hold it. Bring these in. problem is these adjusters, they go one way and one way only, and you don't want to let it go until you got it tight, or else you put extra force on the chain. You don't want to do that. Just want to double check here before I go any further. Make sure that we have proper tension on the chain. That chain is really not moving at all. So I'm going to say we're good there. And I think I'm just going to squirt a little bit of oil on some of these rockers real quick. Show what I'm doing here just a little bit. Nothing crazy. Give it a fighting chance when it fires up. Okay, checking for play. We're good. Big one goes in the middle. Put a little bit of oil on the threads here. Same thing here. Previous owner, I had to buy another bolt. I had to buy a head bolt, not a head bolt, a rocker cover bolt, because one of the studs was snapped off in the old head. So that had to be. Luckily, I didn't have to repair it because I got a new head. So I'm going to bring these all up snug. Alright, so we got something wrong with one of these holes. Let me check it out. I'll be right back. Well, guys, it's what I get for not fully checking this damn motor out. So as I'm trying to tighten down the two long ones here, the one here and the one here, they're the long bolts that go all the way in. I have found out they go all the way down and they catch the head. Well, these two screw holes are stripped out in the head, in the cylinder. And that's my fault for not checking them. Damn it. So, sometimes that's what happens when you buy a project off of somebody else. So I'm going to take the motor apart again, and I'm going to have to Heli coil those two holes and then put it back together. Oh boy. So I'm not going to video all that. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to take the motor apart. I'll get the what I need for Heli coils, and I'll Heli coil them. for joy. It's the next day. I got the motor taken apart. It's back down to where it was before I started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heli coil the stripped threads. And what I found out is we have 3. This one, and this one that I have to heli coil. Obviously, I should have checked them before I started assembling. It would have been a lot easier to drill these out and heli coil them before it was assembled. But it is what it is, and I'm going to do it now. So I'm going to show you guys the process on how to heli coil. I'll do this one first, and then off camera I'll do the other 2. But I'll show you the process in which you use to do it. So there's the heli coil set, and as you can see, you put an insert in the whole 9 yards, and the kit is right here. The kit comes with the drill, the tap, heli coils, and then the heli coil installation tool, which is right here. So I will show you guys how to do this, and you guys will know. So a heli coil tap, even though this is a 6mm tap, it's a 6mm STI tap, which means it's basically an insert tap, and it's actually bigger. It's bigger because the insert has to screw in, and once it screws in, it's the inside is actually the 6mm thread. So the outside is the same pitch as a 6mm, but it's bigger. Without getting into all the details of it, that's pretty much the gist of it. So I'm going to take the tap drill, I'm going to drill out the holes, I'm going to tap the holes, I'm going to use the installation tool, I'm going to put the inserts in, and then this is the tang knockoff tool right here. Basically, all this does is knock the tang off. So you put it in the hole and you just tap it with a hammer and you knock off the tang. And the tang is right there. You can see that little pigtail thing there. That's the tang. You want to break that off after you install it. The tang is on there because it catches in the end of the installation tool. Let me just take it out here and show you. If you can see it, it's sort of like a little hook on the end of it. And that, as you're screwing it in, catches that tang, and then it rotates the insert and screws it into the hole. Once the insert's in, it's not going to come out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get set up. I have to seal off all the openings here. So I have to seal this off. I'm probably going to stuff it full of paper towel and possibly tape across it to make sure nothing goes in there. And hopefully nothing does go in there. So let's give it a go. Alright, I got it all taped off. I think we're in good shape now. Let me just cover the top of the engine with something just to make sure nothing flies onto the piston. Alright, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to drill it through, tap it, put the insert in, and then move on to the rest. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. This is like a sort of a handheld chamfer tool. Basically, it's a countersink that's been hammered into a file handle, and it works really good to put chamfers on holes by hand so you don't get carried away and go too deep. You want some type of a chamfer on here when you're starting the threads. Alright, show you what I got here real quick. So you can see the chamfer. Alright, let me grab the tap. This is the tap. I got it in a T-handle tap wrench. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on here. Now you want to try to keep this as straight as possible. Obviously you don't want the tap going in crooked. And aluminum is really easy to tap, so I'm barely using any force at all to tap this out. Let me pick you guys up, give you a look at what we got now. And can you see the threads in there? I don't know if it's focusing or not. Try to cover all that. So you can see threads in there. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. So now I'll put the insert in. It should be good to go. Grab the insert tool. Alright, so here's the insert tool. And the way this works is you have this window right here. You pull the insert tool back. You take the insert itself. Now I'm using the longest insert that came in the kit. Put the pigtail down like that so you can see it. And then you hold it. Screw this in a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it on from outside here. Alright, so you can see how it's catching that little pigtail with that lip. Then you slide it in here, and then you start to screw it into this applicator or installation tool, so to speak. And you can see that it is turning to get in there. Alright, now tap. Alright, so the end of this one is smaller, so I'm going to use my smaller tap wrench. I like to tighten that on there like that. So it's nice and tight and holding it firm. Alright, so I'm going to spin that down just a little bit more. You want it just below the surface. And then you set this on top, right over the hole. And then you start cranking this in. And it will spring back on you. And you'll know when you're all the way in because the black applicator or installation tool will come free. It won't have resistance on it no more once the insert is all the way in. Okay, so now the applicator's out. And I don't know if you can see that, but the insert is now working its way down inside the hole. And I'm going to turn this till that insert is between 1/8 and 1/4 from the top. And that looks like that's about it right there. Guys, have a good look at it. And I don't know if you can see that down inside the hole there. You can see the tang is down inside the hole, and the insert is now in there. And now I will grab tang removal punch. And you don't need a lot of force. I'm actually going to use the back of my countersink. Just put it in there, and that's it. Pops right out. Now the tang is gone, not in there anymore. So now that that is complete, I will grab the screw and show you. So this is the screw that goes inside that hole. It goes all the way down through the head and then catches this. So I'm going to screw it in now. And now we have a solid thread. Those threads are stronger than the factory ones that were in the aluminum, because these are hardened. It's a hardened steel insert, and it's not going to let go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the other two. Now that you guys have an idea of how to heli coil, and I'll come back when I'm done. Finished the heli coil inserts. They're all done. Let me give you guys a look here, if you can see it. That's the first one. Done. That's the second one right there. Done. And the third one right there. Done. So all three are done, and those threads are better than factory. They're not going to strip now, and we're good to go to reassemble. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to get this motor back to where it was when I discovered that I had to heli coil these three holes. So let me do that now, and then I'll bring you back when I get to that point. So we're back to where we were when we found that problem with the stripped out screw holes in the head. So I'm gonna bring these all up tight, snug them. Let's start with the middle. Bring the middle in first, and then work my way out to the edges. Just snugging them. The edges are top dead center right now. I think to risk not stripping these again, I'm going to do them by hand. I just don't trust a torque wrench, to be honest with you. I think 8's plenty. Alright, leave it at that. The rockers are all loose. Let me grab my feeler gauge, and let's set the gap on those those valve tappers. Alright, got my feeler gauge. I hope you can see it. 5/1000 is the same on the front, on the exhaust and the intake side. So 5/1000 gap is what we're looking for. You want to set it up so that you got some drag. Feels good. Make sure it's tight. Good drag on there. Still some gap. So the gap is 4 to 6 thou. I'm going 5 thou. Going right down the middle. Install the caps, seeing how we're all set now with the tappers. We don't need to go back in here. These don't need to be super tight. They got O-rings on them. Just snug is fine. Tighten them down after. So what I'm going to do is, once I get this motor actually, what I think I'll do is I think I'm going to fill it up with oil, and I may crank it over with no plug in it. You know, the way it sits right now, just to make sure that I'm getting oil to the top of the motor before I go any further, in case I have to tear it back down again. But I think we should be fine on that, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to show you guys any of that. Maybe I will. You know what? I will video that. So I'm going to video that. Let me video that. I'll take off the cap and we'll spin it over and we'll see if we see some oil flopping around in there. Which we should. So I'm going to cut it off at this point and set up for what I'm going to do next. Alright, she's topped off with oil. Kind of overflowed it. So I got the battery hooked up, and I checked for spark because I never saw this bike run. When I bought it, it wasn't running. It was already apart. So I wanted to make sure there was spark. It has spark. The other thing I wanted to make sure is that we're getting oil up to the top of the drivetrain because of the way the old head and valve cover looked. So let me just show you what I got going on here. You'll see down inside there. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of light. See if you guys can see what I'm trying to show you here. So if you look down inside here, let me try to do it both, you know, do it all with one hand here if possible. Which probably isn't. I don't know if you can see. This is really hard to do. This is that time when you wish you had 3 hands. Alright, so I'm going to try to poke that right there. See if you guys can see. See if you can see the oil that's building up on the camshaft. So it is feeding. You can see it coming through the orifices on the cam. Orifices on the cam. So I know that it's now getting oil to the top of the motor. It spins freely. I think we're good. We're ready to completely assemble this and give it a first start. So I'm going to stop here. I have to wait for my carb rebuild kit to come. What I'm going to do is I'm going to button everything up. I'm going to put the exhaust on it. And I can't put the carb on, but I'm going to put the exhaust on, the rest of the motor mounts, and everything else I need, the muffler, to give it a first run. So I'm going to do that now. I'll come back when it's all done. Rebuild kit came for the carb, and I'm going to rebuild that now. Get it all ready to roll, throw it back on the machine. All set. Let's go and let's go throw it on the bike. All right, the bike's together. Cob's on, rebuilt, cleaned, the whole 9 yards. Throttle cable's hooked up. Everything's working good. Let me put that down. As you can see, everything's working good. Choke. Choke is working. Very nice. The exhaust is on. I got this cardboard on here because I'm gonna start it and I'm worried about maybe it shooting all over my white wall here if there's something in it. So there was a lot of oil build up in there and I just want to make sure. The head pipe's on. Got the new bolts in. Everything's hooked up. I just have this piece of wire here holding this forward. It's not disengaging the clutch or anything, but I just don't want this thing all the way around and flapping while once it starts. This side over here is looking pretty good. It's all buttoned up, like I said. The head bolts, everything's in. The exhaust is on. I put this shorty gas line on here. I'm going to fill it with fuel, fill the bowl, and I'm just going to let it run for a couple of seconds there just to see how we are. I got it filled with oil. It's been filled with oil for a few days. I don't see any leaks, so I think we're in good shape there. There's no leaks anywhere. It's been filled with oil for days now, and I don't see any leaks, so we're good there. I guess I'll pop the camera in the stand, and we'll try to start it and see where we're at for our first start on the 400EX. Alright, got you in the stand, and let's give this thing a go. So I got a little squirt bottle here, and this doesn't really look like gasoline, but it is. This is called True Fuel, and you can buy it at like a Home and Garden Center, Home Depot, whatever. And this is the type of gas that's ethanol free and never goes bad. So I have a bunch of gallons of this in the garage, and when I do a first start, I like to use this so I know that there's no issue with the gasoline. So I'm gonna fill the bowl right now. Alright, I don't see any leaks. Carburetor's not leaking. Everything looks good. Not any gas coming out. Everything looks good. Choke it. Alright, let's see what happens. First start, EX400. Choke off a little bit. Alright, we got a little bit of smoke going on here, but that's understandable for a first start. I had a lot of oil everywhere. Not to mention, the inside of that exhaust pipe and that muffler are coated in oil. So it's probably going to smoke for a little while until it all burns off. But I'm happy with that. That was a great first start. I don't see any issues. I don't see anything leaking anywhere. All the oil feeds seem good. I might have to seal this with some muffler sealant right here because it is leaking. And somebody welded it at one time. I don't know if you can see it. See the weld there? Kind of gobbledygook. So I bought the gasket, the lead gasket that goes inside there, but it won't fit because this thing's been welded and I can't get it to expand far enough to get it in there. So I guess we're kind of stuck with where it's at right now. She did fire up, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to run it anymore now. I just wanted to give you guys the first start. I guess the next step is to start putting it all back together, push it outside, and run it through a heat cycle or two, and we should be good to go. I will end video 7 right now, or is it video 6? I think it's video 7. I'll end video 7 right now, and I'll do a walk around when it's all done, and and I'm finished with the heat cycles, and hopefully actually, you know what? I'm gonna end it here. The next video will be time-lapse assembly of all the plastics and everything. I'll set the camera off in the distance and I'll just run it at high speed until I get it done, and then it'll be a walk around with it running, and that'll be the final video on this. I might do a ride video as well, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, hit the bell notification, tell your friends about it. I appreciate you watching. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one. Alright, one last time before call this bonus footage. I got the tank on, plastic shield, heat shield's on, airbox is in, the new airbox cover's on, the O-ring's in, the new filter's in, the exhaust is all buttoned up. She's warmed up. I let her run for a little while and she doesn't smoke anymore. I'll give you guys a little gas. Definitely sounds like a beast.